Alright, so let's do a quick deck tech as to why we're covering Zoo on the red channel. Now, Zoo at its core has always been a red-based deck, whether it was Lightning Bolt, Tribal Flames, back when it ran Wild Nacatl, etc. Now, Zoo these days is a little bit more true 5-color Zoo, usually based around Leyline, the Guild Pact, and Sign of Draco, but you still inevitably have Tribal Flames, Bolt, Flage, which is also a red burn spell in some regards, Territorial Kavu. So I still feel it's enough of a red deck, especially based with Arena and Glory, to consider it a very powerful red-based deck for the purposes of MTG Nexus Red. The version we're playing today is the Ragavan Psychic Frog version. I think there's basically 3 versions. There's the traditional version that runs like either like Ragavan, this, Flage, Scion, and some other threat, whether it's Neshoba Brawler, whether it's Wild Nacatl. I think that's kind of the standard package Zoo. Then you have the kind of black-based version with Psychic Frog, which uses Psychic Frog as one of the secondary threats. Then I think like there's a couple other like tertiary variants with like the energy package, which has like Ocelot and Goddess Souls, sometimes a Johnny. And then you have the one, the blue Zoo as they call it, which is a little less common, which is like Counterspell, Force of Negation. I believe it still runs Psychic Frog, so it's a little bit more like blue based. Removes some of the Tribal Flames and that kind of stuff for a little bit more Counterspell based. I think that's a little bit better, maybe in a more combo centric meta. So Zoo has been continuing, despite it stupefying me to a certain degree. Has continued to be one of the strong presences, even through Nadu metas and Boros metas, and even through the Breach meta. It's been 3 to 5% of the meta. It's been a solid thing. So 2 comments about this deck. I'm not sure of. Not sure of Psychic Frog in a deck that isn't Murktide, and I'm not sure about 21 lands. I think I would prefer to be on 22, but we'll see how that plays out in this league. As far as the main deck, we'll be trying out Psychic Frog, see how we feel about it. One of the tricks with Zoo is getting the mana base right, so I can't say this mana base is right, but the version that we're rolling with has Sparus Headquarters and Blood Crypt as kind of the default 2 of, or your default domain setting. You also have access, obviously, to Raucous Theater and Sparus. And then, your mana base is kind of based around that. So you got to keep that in mind when you're fetching. Obviously, you have Leyline Cylon, you have Leyline Building, or Leyline Binding, so you have a 12 domain package, and then the rest of the deck is pretty cut and dry. As far as the sideboard, you've got the Doorkeeper Thralls for energy and black-white. You have Rest in Peace for any type of graveyard nonsense that might still be lurking around out there. Consign to Memory and Charm Off for Eldrazi. Consign also has a bunch of other utilities. You can bring this in. 4th copy of Stubborn Denial, 2 copies of Wear Terror for any artifact Mox Opal decks, and 1 Damping Sphere. Once again, kind of a catch-all against a lot of different decks. You can bring this in, but mainly against Eldrazi, but you can bring it against Storm and some other stuff to help. So that is Domain Zoo with the Psychic Frog variant. Let's get into some matches and see how this deck does. Alright, we are here with some Domain Zoo with the Frog. It's going to be great if we had lands, but unfortunately, no lands, no Gamba. This hand is also kind of tricky, but we'll keep. Put back one of the ley lines. Hope we draw a second land. So, obviously Zoo is a deck that's continued to do well. One of the trickier parts about the Zoo deck has been the mana base, especially the non-leyline games where you're forced to actually, play the actual thing. Okay, looks like we're up against Boros. Alright, and we lose. I mean, that said, my opponent could be on a one lander and not accomplish anything either, but okay, they're on a quasi one lander. Yeah, Guide into Pride. Beatdowns begin. Okay. Can we get a land? We can. Scion, go. Do you have a way to answer everything that's going on? Guess we'll find out in a minute. Do they have static prison? Otherwise, the combo might stop you. So, they could have, well, basically anything triggers Ocelot Pride here, but could have potentially attacked with Scion, but I don't know that would have been the correct thing to tap ourselves down. Like, if we draw any land, we can go Kavu or Frog into hold up Stubborn Denial. So, sure, you got a monkey. Just gets to trigger that. Alright, so shock it up, shock it in. Thraben Charm. Just to assume that's what this is. Once again, always main phase your stuff against decks that have interaction that can stop what you're doing. Guess you see these color lands, you're not thinking, oh, Stubborn Denial. But at least I think that's the most reasonable card they could have here. Don't think there's a particularly good chance that the frogs do much on this board. Okay. Second Thraben Charm would be unfortunate. No, looks like it's just Flage. Yep, Flage into target our face. Because you got mud on your face, you big disgrace. can only target my face or one of your creatures, so don't know what you're trying to do, but okay, to the yard you go. We'll go ahead and deal with this. Exile that. The fact that it has first strike, trample, and all this other nonsense. This makes it really hard for Boros to deal with. We will go ahead and play Frog. Play that and pass. You have a Galvanic Blast, but it can't target, or Galvanic Discharge, but it cannot target anything. If you had just main phased your Thraben Charm, you would have a prayer. And it's not to say they can't like overwhelm on this board and do something, but they would need probably a second Guide of Souls. Flagy? Nope. Season Pyro. Pitching. Discharge. Shocker. One of the more annoying cards. Would you even attack with a cat token here? Actually, we'll leave that on top. They can't cast it anyway, so. Red, black. White, green. You gonna block with your entire board? Or are you just not going to pay attention to this as first strike? Alright, I'm not going to pay attention to this first strike. Good to know. Sure. This is going to go up to a... Opponent learns nothing. What is your last card, friend? Land. So we are playing against an opponent who doesn't seem to know their way around a oh, they just let it go. Sure. Question is, which do I care about more? Okay. Probably should have just pitched that to the frog. A long and grinding road we're facing down. Keeping in mind, we're only in game 1 and my opponent's already chewed through over half their clock, so could be relevant if we continue to play these style of games. Please don't be a Flagey. Nope, just a Fable. Just a Fable. Okay. Interesting time to crack that fetch land. I don't know that we'd be ahead this game if our opponent had played a bit smarter. Whether it be the Thraben Charm play, whether it was the block on Territorial Kavu, a couple others, I think they could have played a little bit better and would have had a much better chance. So we'll go ahead and fetch here. Surveillion, now we just have Sparrows, which gets us all the land types. Does that help? Response, bolt the kitty cat, and a dance, 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 and a dance, dance, dance. Frog gets flying. Opponent can trade away like a bunch of their board to kill Kavu here. Okay. Draw a card. Stuck on Boros, Brand, because Boros stuck on us. Alright, so we do want 2 copies of Pyroclasm. 2 copies of Knock Knock. Take a look at the Boros lists lately and see if they play enough to justify. So, Blood Moon, Bomba, Static Prison, Fable. Probably justify enough to bring these in. I think we bored all the monkeys out. Cards am I shaving in this style of matchup? Smyrna now has some targets. Let's roll a 61, see what happens. Keep. They have monkey, or they have one of the power duo. Looks like one of the power duo. Okay. So how many Ocelot Prides do you have this game? Taking a hit for 1, whether we like it or not. Okay, so they just have the 1 opener here. Sparta's headquarters. Hold up Binding Enthrall here, I think. We allow them to have Spyro or whatever it is they have. Not that I hate. I maybe should have kept that card in case of Flage. Excuse me? You're in combat. I don't know exactly what you think you're doing. This is some new card in Boros I'm not aware of? You're in combat. So this feels like just casting Flage. Blood Moon? Yep, Spyro. Sure. think we have a very good chance of losing this game unless we find sure. Attack with Spyro, that's about it. Hit for 2. Kind of embarrassing if they do all this and then have a removal spell here. That's a Ragavan. Why didn't you play that pre-combat? That's so dumb. It's possible I should have fetched her on Blood Moon there. This requires what, 5? They have a way to put another card in the graveyard. We're just dead, but nothing I can do about that. Guess theoretically they could let that go. No, they're gonna let that keep rolling. Sure. Just continue to let them burn clock. I don't even think I put Pyroclasm in their brains right now. Force them to go through the game actions of They can get back Flage, but the problem is they don't have a way to give a haste currently. It's actually kind of goofed by giving everything haste. Sure. Okay. So the cat's a free attack. So what could we find here that would be useful? Okay. Opponent probably could have won this game, but then can't win the match, so gotta play faster sometimes. Alright, match 2 in the league. First match was a marathon grind against Energy. We'll definitely keep this hand. So we go Ragavan into hold up Stubby D, etc. So if you look at the land bases, do have access to a steam vents. But is that the route I want to go? Yeah, the steam vents, the Sparas. Could go Blood Crypt into Sparas or Sacred Foundry. So we'll do that in the Temple Garden most likely. One of the more tricky parts about Zoo is the mana base, unfortunately. It just is a little bit trickier of... Sure. Looks like we're up against... Is it hooked on... Huh. Play that. Go ahead and bolt you. Yeah, we'll be happy to cast a bottle. They're drawing a mountain. We'll draw this. Obviously there is some risk that we could draw the Sparas headquarters or something, but I think we're cool with that. Probably should have played the Arid Mesa as far as the land goes, but we drew another land. Okay. Sure. Faithless Looting, huh? Camouflage. Kill your Don't think Stubby D is going to do a lot here unless they're missing another land drop. I'm trying to cast here. Would love to catch a Corey Steel or a expressive iteration here. Would probably be our ideal thing. Our deck doesn't generally have a ton of ways to deal with a Falagi, so sure. 2 on top. Shock it up, shock it in. What is this? Looks like a Metamorphose, perhaps? Sure. Looks like we're going with Flage on top of Flage on top of Flage. Blood Crypt. Red, red, white, white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Opponent concedes. Wear Tear against specifically Corey Steel. And maybe a Stubborn Denial. Ragavan's kind of middling, especially on the draw. Do any of the other cards make sense? Pyroclasm is kind of questionable against. It looks like they're on Soulscar, DRC, probably Swiftspear, Corey Steel is their threat base, and they literally have to have no spell in hand for Pyroclasm to get them. So I think we just bring in these 3. This gives us 6 outs to Corey Steel besides countering it on the way down. Depends on if they're on Izzet specifically or if they're on the Jeskai variant that's a little bit better equipped at handling Flage. The problem with the Izzet deck, at least according to what I've seen people talking about it, is it just kind of struggles with dealing with anything that's like, you know, Scion, any of that nonsense. I mean, the other video you'll see, because I'm only going to do the Boros matchup in one, just because it was so long. Okay. DRC. Yeah. Let's get that out of the way. Might have been incorrect to snap that off so quickly, but I don't want them getting any additional value from DRC. Swizzle Spear, sure. They stuck on one land. They indeed are. So they could easily have something like mutagenic growth, so I'm just going to let them, if they attack, it's fine. I think given the fact that they're stuck on one land, I'm not going to try the, oh, okay, well, that works too.